Hi guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not very happy with the response that you people are giving to these videos. Despite giving inexhaustive content, now what is required that I need your support. The purpose of making these videos is that the knowledge should reach to the last man of the society, and for that, the support of you people is required. I request you all to please share these videos to more and more people. And in addition to that, please subscribe to the channel also. Let us start with our today's discussion, and our today's discussion will be based upon the landmark judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, that is Sukhpal Singh versus State of Punjab. That was decided by the Honorable Supreme Court in the year 2022. Means that is a latest judgment. In addition to that, it is a landmark judgment also. So let us start our discussion. Let us talk about what is this particular judgment based upon. This particular judgment is based upon the power that is conferred upon the court under section 319 of CRPC. Let us read once section 319 of CRPC. Take out your Bear Act. So I am going to read section 319 of CRPC. It states that power to proceed against other person appearing to be guilty of the offence, where in the course of inquiry into or trial of an offence, it appears from the evidence that a person not being an accused committed an offence for which such person could be tried together with the accused, the court may proceed against such person for the offence which he appears to have committed. So it says that it is particularly based upon the calling or summoning the additional prosecution. The power under section 319 is primarily based upon the calling or summoning of the additional accused, wherein the court feels that he may also have committed the offence. So let us take the example. Let's suppose there there is an offence committed of under section 379 of IPC. Let's suppose theft is committed, and in the charge sheet there is an accused A, B, and C. And upon the perusal of evidences, the court finds that there is some person D who was also involved in that particular offence, whose name is not mentioned in the charge sheet. So in that case, court can summon that person D for the purpose of trial, for the purpose of facing the trial. So let us move to the background of section 319. I just require to erase this. The power under section 319 of CRPC was bestowed upon the court upon the recommendation of 41st Law Commission. In earlier CRPC, that is 1889 Act, the similar kind of provision was there, that is section 351 of CRPC 1889, which was dealing with similar kind of power. However, there were certain lacunas or certain defect in that particular provision. What were that lacunas? The lacuna were that the power under section 351 can be exercised only when the accused person is present before the court and not otherwise. In case the accused person was not present in the court premises, the court cannot issue summon or arrest warrant against him under section 351. However, this defect was cured by section 319 of CRPC. Now let us discuss what is the purpose of section 319 of CRPC. The purpose of section 319 CRPC is to bring home the guilt of all the accused, that no accused should go scot free. The court will able to do justice in the real sense only when the court is able to punish all the culprits. So this is the primarily the purpose of section 319 of CRPC. Now let us discuss one by one all the issues which was raised in that particular case. The first issue that was raised, let us read once section 319 of CRPC. subsection 1, I am just reading subsection 1. Where in the course of an inquiry, where in the course of any inquiry into or trial of an offence, it appears from the evidence. So the court has discussed in this particular case what is the evidence. So what is the meaning of evidence in this particular section? Whether it should be construed strictly or liberally. So a witness, a testimony of a witness or the document is said to be an evidence in its real sense only when it is subscribed to the basic requirement as provided under the Evidence Act. Let's suppose there is a person D who is required to be called under section 319 of CRPC on the basis of the evidence given by a person A. Let's suppose there is a person A who has deposed that he has seen D on the crime spot. Means the moment the crime was happening, D was also present over there. And upon that deposition or upon that testimony, the court is invoking its power under section 319 and issuing a summon against D. Now merely upon the saying of A that he is present on the spot, can the D be called? Can it be said to be an evidence? Whatsoever he deposed, can it be said to be an evidence? In not in a real sense. It cannot be said an evidence in a real sense because his deposition is subject to cross examination. In addition to that, if there is some ambiguity, if the court finds some ambiguity, the court can invoke its power and ask question related to that. Only after satisfying it will be said to be an evidence. So in particular case, in one case, it was held that the power under section 319 can be invoked only after the culmination of cross examination. And not otherwise. But such an interpretation was a strict interpretation. Being a power conferring provision, being a power conferring provision upon the court. And this particular provision is meant to do justice. And such an interpretation would not only defeating the ends of justice but also the intent of the legislature as to how is it is affecting or how it is affecting the intent of the legislature. Now it says that where in the course of any inquiry into or trial of an offence. So the power under section 319 is not limited to the trial only. It can be invoked at the inquiry stage also. So such an interpretation is not only defeating the ends of justice but also the intent of the legislature also. So such an interpretation would defeating the ends of justice. The court has laid down two tests. Upon the satisfaction of those two tests, the court can invoke the power under section 319. And what are those tests? The first test that has to be satisfied is the more than prima facie case has to be made out. And secondly, the evidences which are present before the court are sufficient in the ordinary course of nature if goes unrebutted to prove the guilt of the accused person. The first test is more than prima facie case. So this two test has to be essentially fulfilled in order to invoke the power under section 319. The second issue that was raised before the Honorable Court is that in what manner the cognizance is required to be taken. Whether the court is required to take cognizance upon its own information, that is under section 191C, or in the similar manner as it has taken the cognizance against the other co-accused person. So the court has held that as a matter of convenience, the court should take the cognizance in a similar manner as was taken against the other accused person. अब ऐसा कोर्ट ने क्यों कहा? Because the proceeding of inquiry and trial is different in both the cases. If the court proceed under section 191C, the procedure of inquiry and trial would be different, and if the court proceed under section 191B, that is upon the FIR, that the court has taken the cognizance upon the FIR, in such case the inquiry, the steps of inquiry and trial would be totally different, so it would ultimately leads to chaos. So therefore, in order to avoid that chaos, the court should take cognizance in a manner as it has taken earlier against the other co-accused person. Now the third issue that was dealt by the Honorable Supreme Court is that till what stage the court can invoke the power under section 319. So for that we have to read section 319 subsection 1. It says that where in the course of any inquiry into or trial of an offence it appears from the evidence. So the power under section 319 can be exercised in the course of trial or inquiry. What is the implication of the word course? It means during the stage of inquiry or trial. So for that we have to discuss as to when the inquiry begins and inquiry ends, and trial start and trial end. Upon the taking of cognizance, the inquiry begins, and upon the framing of charges, the trial began, and the trial complete upon the passing of the judgment. Okay, so the moment cognizance is taken, the power under section 319 can be exercised at any stage till the passing of the judgment. But before taking of cognizance, the power of section 319 cannot be exercised. Neither after the passing of the judgment, the power under section 319 cannot be exercised. So we have to understand as to when, till what time the court can exercise the power under section 319, till the passing of the judgment. So we have to understand as to what is the judgment, as to when the judgment is said to be final. So we have to understand when the judgment is said to be complete, when the trial comes to an end upon the passing of the judgment, and when the judgment is said to be complete. For that we have to look into section 354. For that we have to look into section 354, which has to be read with section 232 and 235 of CRPC. So let us first discuss section 232 and 235. Judgment will end upon either acquittal or conviction. For that acquittal we have to read section 232, and for conviction we have to read section 235 subsection 2. Let us read section 232. Acquittal. If after taking of evidence for the prosecution, examination of accused and hearing of prosecution and the defense on the point, the judge considered that there is no evidence that the accused commit the offence, the judge shall order record the order of acquittal. So the moment judge is of the opinion that no evidence is made out against the accused person, the judge shall pass the order of acquittal. And the moment the judge pass the order of acquittal, it is said to be a judgment. The only thing that is left is the recording of that order. The moment judge pass the order of acquittal, it sets to be a judgment, and after passing of the order of acquittal, the power under section 319 cannot be invoked. Now let us discuss section 235 subsection 2. Section 235 subsection 2 says that if the accused is convicted, the judge shall, unless he proceed accordance with the provision of section 360, hear the accused on the question of sentence and then pass the sentence on him according to the law. So they are saying that the moment the judge passed the order of conviction, he has to record the order of sentencing. So by reading the section 235 subsection 2, we can say that the order of conviction is not in itself amounts to a judgment. It has to be supported by the order of sentence as to why the court is imposing such a punishment. The court has to record the reason of the sentence. In addition to that, what is the punishment that the court is imposing upon the concerned accused person. Only then it is said to be a judgment. Okay. In order to support this contention, let us discuss section 354 so as to substantiate whether the conviction order per se amounts to judgment or there is something more which is required to be said to be a judgment. 354 we have to read subsection C. Shall specify the offence if any of which and the section of Indian Penal Code or any other law under which the accused is convicted and the punishment to which he is sentenced. So merely because it is also saying that merely because he is convicted, it will not amount to a content of judgment. It must be supported by the punishment to which he is sentenced. So the court has to give the sentencing order also. So with that we can say that conviction order plus order of sentencing which is supported by reason is said to be a judgment. So in case of acquittal, merely the order of acquittal will amount to a judgment, but in case of conviction, the conviction order has to be supported by the sentencing order also along with that reason in order to set that a judgment. So the court can, so through all this discussion we can say that the court can invoke its 319 power at any stage before passing of the judgment and after taking of the cognizance. However, in the inquiry stage, in this inquiry stage, the evidences are not sufficient to proceed with the power under section 319 CRPC, because the power under section 319 can be exercised upon the perusal of evidences, and in this stage the court is not very much sure that whether to invoke this power or not, because there was already a decision wherein the court has laid down the two tests. However, at the inquiry stage, the court is not applying its mind to the evidences as much as it will apply its mind at the stage of trial to that particular evidence. So, in this particular stage, the court can invoke the power subject to the perusal of evidences. However, the court in the particular case, that is Hardeep Singh case, has held that the court should not invoke the power under section 319 at the stage of section 207, 208 and 209 of CRPC, because herein the court is not applying its judicial mind, rather it is acting in a administrative capacity. Means the court is just have to give the document or has to commit the case to the session court in case the offence is exclusively triable by the session court. Here the court does not have to apply its judicial mind, rather has to act in accordance with the rather it has to act in accordance with the procedure. So it is just acting in its administrative duty. So they are just acting in its administrative capacity. In its various decisions, the Honorable Supreme Court has clearly held that the power of section 319 can be exercised before passing of the order of conviction. But in certain cases, the Honorable Supreme Court has held that power of section 319 can be exercised even after the passing of the order of conviction, but it cannot be exercised after passing of the order of sentence. Means it has to be exercised before passing of the order of sentence. So, in order to understand this more better, let us take an example. The when the trial is said to be concluded, answer me, when the trial is said to be concluded, it concludes with the passing of the judgment. So can we say that merely upon the passing of the order of conviction, the judgment can be said to be that it has comes to an end? The moment the judgment is passed, the trial comes to an end. But can we say that judgment is equivalent to order of conviction? Can the judgment be said to be in order of conviction? No. The judgment is equivalent to order of conviction plus order of sentencing, which has to be ultimately supported by the reason. So these two ingredients constitute a judgment. The Honorable Court has clearly held that where there is possibility of two interpretation, that interpretation should be given, which ultimately leads to the ends of justice, which ultimately furthers the ends of justice. Okay. So the court has applied the liberal rule of interpretation and held that the power under section 319 can be exercised any time before passing of the order of sentence. Power under section 319, being an extraordinary power, has to be exercised in extraordinary circumstances only. keeping in mind the justice oriented approach. Why this power should be exercised in an extraordinary circumstances only? This power should be exercised in extraordinary circumstances. Why? Can you please answer? Let's suppose there is a trial going on again of A, B, and C, and the trial has reached to the order of conviction, wherein the court has passed the order of conviction. Now the court finds that there was a person D who was also involved in that particular offense. Now the court invoked its power under section 319 and summoned that person. Now what would be the consequences? And the court decided to try him, that person, that D person together with the main accused. The court decided to try this D together with the main accused. Now it will ultimately lead to de novo trial. What would be the implication of this de novo trial? It will initiate this particular trial of A, B, C, and D will initiate from the inception, and it will ultimately cause delay. And the delay defeats equity. So it is going against the constitutional morality ultimately. So therefore the court clearly stated that being an extraordinary power should be exercised in extraordinary circumstances only, keeping in mind the ends of justice should be served. Keeping in mind the justice oriented approach only. Let us move to the next issue. There is a phrase used under section 319 of CRPC, that is, could be tried together with the accused. What is the implication of this phrase? They are not saying must be tried. They are saying could be tried. So it is an enabling provision. Which is actually conferring a discretion upon the court either to try that concerned accused which is summoned under section 319, either to try that concerned person together with the main accused, or try separately that concerned accused. That is totally a discretion of the court. If a court want to try that concerned accused together with the main accused, then the condition of section 223 should be fulfilled. Even if the condition of section 223 are fulfilled, it is not a foundation over the court to try that concerned accused together. The court can try even separately that concerned accused, keeping in mind the ultimate ends of justice should serve. So if a court wants to try that concerned accused together, then section 319 subsection 4 clause A comes into picture, which says that in such a case a fresh trial should be conducted. Why they are saying that कि fresh trial होना चाहिए? So as to ensure a fair trial, which is a part of Article 21 of the Constitution. It is also in the interest of principle of natural justice. It is also a statutory mandate also. How is it a statutory mandate? Section 273 of CRPC states that the evidences should be recorded in the presence of accused. So ultimately, it that power under section 319, if the court is thinking to try that concerned case together, then in that case there would be a de novo trial. अब कोर्ट ऐसा तो नहीं करेगा ना कि भाई ये ए बी सी और ये डी, इनको ट्राई तो टुगेदर कर रहा है, बट इसके लिए प्लेंटिव विटनेस ये है, प्लेंटिव विटनेस इसके लिए ये है, इसके लिए ये वाला एविडेंस है, और इसके लिए PW1 एविडेंस. अब ये बाइफरकेट तो करेगा नहीं सारे एविडेंसेस कि ये इसके अगेंस्ट बोल रहे हैं और ये इसके अगेंस्ट बोल रहे हैं. देयरफॉर देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ डी नोवो ट्रायल, which is in line with the principle of fairness, natural justice, and also a statutory mandate. But if the court is proceeding separately, in such a case, the power under section 319 has to be exercised before passing of the sentence. Because the power under section 319 has to be exercised on the basis of evidence only. And the moment the court passes the sentence, the court becomes functions officio. That is power of the courts comes to an end. मीन्स अब कुछ बचा ही नहीं है कोर्ट के पास करने के लिए इसके बाद, तो कोर्ट अब रिव्यू तो करेगा नहीं अपने ऑर्डर को, सो इट बिकम्स फंक्शंस ऑफिशियो. उसके बाद कोई पावर एक्सरसाइज नहीं कर सकता कोर्ट. सो दैट्स इट. थैंक यू सो मच.